Hello everyone, my name is Puteri Cahya Safitriningati. I am College in Communication Science student class of 2019. I come from the Muhammadiyah University of Yogyakarta, Indonesia. On this occasion, I will present the result of my research, which resulted in a scientific paper in the form of a journal poster. Slide 1. The title of my writings is Media Framing and Analysis of the News on the Disaster of Football Riots in Indonesia by Puteri Cahya Safitriningati, Erwan Sudiwijaya, Ali Aulia, Fajar Junaidi. Slide 2. In this poster consists of first, introduction, second, theoretical framing work, third, method, fourth, result and discussion, and finally, the conclusion. Slide 3. The contents of the introduction, namely paragraph 1, contains football as a competitive sport and the behavior carried out by supporters in a match known as a football hooliganism. The second paragraph contains information regarding the Kanjuruhan tragedy in Malang and the media that covered it. In the next section, I will write about how the media works in previous studies. Slide 4. In the theoretical framework, there are two sub-chapters. The first is framing online media and the second is football disaster. The first in the framing theory, according to Chang and Druckmann, and the second is public media relation, according to Mulder et al. Third, Ternay theory describes how events are framed. Then the fourth theory is from Salviani, who wrote about the critical role of the media in reporting the news. The fifth theory, Darby et al., how disasters in football are analyzed to reveal social, economic, and organizational tension. The last idea of Ostrowski filed with how the causes and consequences of aggressive police action. Slide 5. The 5 slides display the research method. This research uses a qualitative method with a framing analysis approach to analyze how online media frames the Kanjuruhan events published in the news. The studies employs the software NVivo 12 plus for data analysis. The data source for this research are the online media Detik and CNN Indonesia and relevant journal articles. Slide 6. Result and discussion is the result and discussion of the research. The first is the framing content analysis of the Kanjuruhan Stadium tragedy, illustrated using the graphics are drawn, which are the result of the NVivo software. This data explains the comparison of data generated from content analysis by Detik and CNN Indonesia media. The framing content distributed by Detik.com and CNN Indonesia is about witness, victim, police action, and Indonesia Football Association response. Meanwhile, in the graph, the content displayed by CNN Indonesia is more dominant from the point of view of the Indonesian Football Association response with a percentage of 50%. Content of seconds appear superior in framing witness to show that an event cannot be separated from the existence of witness who will be a source of information to determine who is responsible for the Kanjuruhan tragedy. The second framing category developed by Detik is from the police point of view with the efforts that had been made to deal with the masses at that time through their action which the community considered to have taken repressive action. The police handling of the crowd is often seen as going too far. According to Detik, the use of tear gas at each stand deprived many spectators of oxygen and made the situation chaotic. In contrast to the content published by CNN Indonesia, the response of the Indonesian Football Association institution is dominant by 50% of news broadcast by SSI, All Indonesian Football Association. Overseas, the All Indonesian Football Association, which controls and develops the sport figure 1, shows that CNN Indonesia is more framing the response of the parts who have authority and responsibility for the match. The second is framing narrative analysis of Kanjuruhan Stadium tragedy. The image generated from word cloud have three categories, namely the first category, witness, by bringing up the keywords Suprapti, family, and supporters. Detik and CNN Indonesia published Suprapti, who admitted that many fans were drunk before the riot. Even so, Suprapti later apologized to Aremania and the decided who was slandered was a hoax. The family referred to in this introductory paragraph are victims of the Kanjuruhan tragedy, as evidenced by the testimony published by Detik Media regarding Emilia who lost her husband and child in the Kanjuruhan tragedy. The supporters in question are Aremania fans who watch their pride team play as witness and victim in the Kanjuruhan tragedy when tear gas was fired onto the field, followed by the stands. The fans interpreted the throwing of shoes as a sign that the fans could not stand the tear gas. From these three data, word cloud concludes that framing narratives for witness needs to be confirmed by the public, and the third is known. It is described how the incident occurred based on the testimony of the victims who experienced the tragedy and the supporters who were present to watch their favorite team play. The second category is related to the association. institution accountable for the recommended of the tragedy match. The online media CNN Indonesia frames the association as the individual responsible for every football match. The result of the analysis above relate to the terms PSSI and Iwan. PSSI is the All Indonesian Football Association or the All Indonesian Football Association, which organizes all football sport in Indonesia. PSSI and Iriawan, or usually called Iwan Bule, have a connection, with Iwan serving as General Chairman of the All Indonesia Football Association. Iwan was mentioned in online media CNN Indonesia and Detik, avoiding journalists after being questioned by Komnas HAM, and he was urged to resign from his position. PSSI must be able to regulate football in Indonesia and transform the sport so that safety, security, and comfort are priorities. The third category consists of police action that attract public attention because of their actions in securing sporting events. Both online sources present a narrative in which gas appears in the word cloth. The gas in the introductory narration is tear gas fired by security force acting as security against during a soccer game. CNN Indonesia media carried the headline Komnas HAM, tear gas caused many victims in Kanjuruhan. CNN Indonesia narrative framing for the Kanjuruhan tragedy show that this institution must also be held accountable. And slide 9, the last slide, is the conclusion, which concludes that Detik and CNN Indonesia framing of the Kanjuruhan tragedy can influence the perspective of Indonesian readers. The two online news sources each publish news with a different emphasis. Detik's framing is dominant in witness content and police action, while CNN Indonesia framing is dominant is how the Indonesian Football Association responds to this incident. In addition, CNN Indonesia and Detik disseminates narrative framing based on witness, police action, and association to influence public opinion. This research has limitation because it only compares to online media, so data obtained still needs to be improved. Therefore, future research should be able to take advantage of the three online news media to get broader perspective of news framing and a more comprehensive comparison of data. This is the presentation of my research work. I hope that my research can benefit the world of education and all elements of society. Thank you for your attention.